Hi guys, it's Jordan from B&B Campers. Just going to do your handover video on your Autosleeper Warwick. It's a duo, so meaning that it's got the twin single beds in the back. So if we start under the bonnet, it's based on the Peugeot Boxer chassis, and the kind of golden colour that we've got on it is 506. That's the paint code for that. So on the left hand side under the bonnet of these chassis, you've got the washer fluid, power steering fluid, and your engine coolant, which you can see there is at the right level. Next door to that, you've then got your brake fluid just there attached to the servo behind that, and your engine oil filling point. The engine oil dipstick is this yellow one just down here. So that's all of your sort of fluids and things like that over there on the left hand side. The engine battery on these chassis sits under the floor in the cab, just in front of the passenger seat. So if you ever want to jump start the vehicle, you can come under the bonnet just here, lift up this little flap here, and that sort of reveals the positive terminal for the engine battery. So that's where that is, positive, and then your negative or your earthing point, this one just here. Chassis plate, and this is all to do with your air conditioning system to tell how much fluid needs to go in. Well, not fluid, but gas. There you go. So on the near side or the passenger door, you've got your bonnet release handle in there and your diesel filling point. Just in case you ever wonder, these two bits just in here are basically just air assisters. So it doesn't mean you've got full air suspension, but it's just basically air assistance for the suspension. So roughly keep it in the green there, but basically between 1 and 2 is absolutely perfect for those. It just basically stiffens up the suspension essentially. You've then got your swivel seat just here, which works from this little arm there. The driver's side hasn't got the swivel seat base on it, but that's mainly due to the fact that underneath the driver's seat are the 2 leisure batteries, because you have got twin leisure batteries in there. I shall carry on around the outside now. The step is an electric step, and it comes out with this button just here, so just press it at once. Step goes in and out nicely like that. You've then got storage just inside this cupboard here, and next to that a 240-volt socket, which will only work when the hookup's plugged in. Then got your toilet cassette locker. So the toilet cassette itself is very simple. So all you've got really is you've got this on the right hand side, which is your flush fluid reservoir. So the flush fluid itself actually goes into this pot here. So essentially the way it works is it works on a little U-bend. So even though that there looks full up, this is only down to here. So this is the scale that you need to look at. Keep it around the middle somewhere, and basically just keep topping it up with your pre-mixed pink fluid whenever you start running low. The cassette itself, you lift up on this little green tab here, and that'll then allow you to take this whole thing out. This is the larger sized cassette, so it's a bench seat toilet you've got in there. All you need to know really is that you empty it out from here. So you undo this cap just here and empty it out from there. When you're physically emptying it out, you should be holding down the little green button at the back. And also that you should try your best to keep this rubber seal lubricated with some kind of silicone lubricant every now and again. Otherwise, that is it. Awning winder is this just here, and that basically just goes into the little point there on the side of the awning, just there, to wind that out. So towards the back on the near side, got your external gas point. So that's basically your barbecue point. If you ever needed to plug anything external gas wise into the van, that's where you do that. I will just point out as well, just reminded me, you did have to have, which is a good thing, a new refillable gas tank. So all of these Warwicks came out of the factory with just refillable gas tanks, or underslung tanks as they're called. The one that was on it before was quite rusty and needed to be replaced, so you've got a brand new one there, with all the correct pipe work and things like that. So that is what that is under there, if you ever wondered. So at the very back of the vehicle, there's not a huge amount to show you, to be fair, by the back doors here, apart from the fact that you've got the speakers up on the doors there, which is a nice little extra to have. Because the gas tank is underneath the vehicle, a lot of these kind of conversions would have the gas locker here at the back somewhere, but it saves all of that space by having it underneath. It means that you can have this as storage, and there's probably the boiler underneath it and all that sort of stuff, so that is a lot better. So let me just carry on round. So on the off side now, we've got the boiler vent just here. So this is your Truma Combi boiler vent. So if you ever had the boiler lit up on gas, you'll feel hot air coming out from underneath of this. You've got two ways of filling up the fresh tank as well. So you've got your normal hose point just there, or the type where you can basically put a little bit onto that and it'll drop into a tank, so that you can fill it up from like a roll away filling tank if you wanted to. So those two there are your freshwater filling points. Underneath just here, you've then got your freshwater drain off, which is the blue one just there, and the wastewater drain, which is the grey one to the right of it. These two vents just here are just to do with your fridge, so I'll show you what they do, or show you how you use the fridge when we get inside, but they're just the vents for that. And your hookup point is just there. So having the hookup cable plugged in means that you can use all of those two 40-volt sockets, anything that might work on the mains, like the microwave that's in there, the boiler on the mains, all that sort of stuff, and I'll explain that, you know, better when we get inside. Like I said, all of the Warwicks, or at least this range of Warwicks, came out with the Gasset Auto Gas refillable systems. So that is where you go to fill that up, and it's essentially just your bayonet fitting at your petrol station. Nice and easy. You have also then got, because of that, you've got your level indicator just here inside the dash, inside the cab, sorry, so that you can see exactly how much is in there. At the moment, obviously, it will be flashing up with a little red thing here on empty because it's a brand new tank. So you will need to put some gas in there. Yeah, so that is that. As for the cab itself, you've got a really nice high-spec cab. Generally speaking, the Peugeot cabs, even though they're the same as the Fiat Ducato, like engine-wise, the Peugeot cabs tend to have a higher spec as standard. So you've got all of the steering wheel controls here, cruise control from the dial, from the little bit just here. You've got your 6-speed manual gearbox, air conditioning from that switch just there in the middle, all of your sort of standard Peugeot head unit there. You have got the reversing camera up there as well, and electric adjusting mirrors from here, and your windows. So this particular one's got 44,000 miles on it, so you know, for this sort of engine, this sort of van, it's, you know, it's barely running, if I'm completely honest. So you'll get a long time, you know, so you get any issues with this. So let me just jump around to the near side again so we can jump in. So that was the outside. Pretty straightforward, really. So as soon as you get in, you'll notice you've got your little control panel just here. So this is a Sargent system. You can see the EC51 control panel. So the control panel itself doesn't get, you know, they don't get much more simple than this. You've essentially got a main on and off switch just here on the top left. So if I turn this off, anything that has 12-volt power going to it, like your lights, ignitions, things like that, water pump, will have no more power going to them. So that just basically isolates everything. If I press L just here, it'll come up telling us the sort of voltage that's in the leisure battery, and if I press vehicle, it will tell us the voltage that's in the vehicle battery. You need to leave it here on L if you want to use the vehicle, you know, or use the lights and things like that. You need to leave it here on L because you don't want power being drawn from the vehicle battery. Okay, so all the time that you want to be using the van in the back end, you need to be left on L. You've then got your water pump switch just there, which you can see there is on at the moment, and your freshwater level indicator. So we've got nearly a full tank of fresh water. And that is it. That is the control panel, nice and easy. So you've then got a couple of switches just here. One of the switches, this bottom one here with the light on it, does do the awning light, and the reason they have the light on it is so that you don't forget that it's on. So that's what they are there. Okay, so you've got the cooker just here, so you've got the full-size range cooker with the grill and the oven as well. At the bottom here, might have something underneath. Nope. Okay, that makes it even easier then. So what you've essentially got is, like I said, you've got the grill just in here, oven below that. The grill door needs to be open when you're using that, but that's the same as any oven, to be honest. The only thing really to know is the fact that you need the ignition switch just here for lighting up any of the gas burners, and you've got a dial telling you exactly what one does what. So you've got here on the right, you've got the oven, grill, top right, bottom left, and the last one, the one over in the corner there, is actually an electric hob ring. So if you had the electric hookup plugged in, you could choose 1 through to 6, and that would basically just start heating up on that number there. So that is it. That's if you wanted to use the hob on the electric, you can do that from there. Next door to that, you've got this is quite an important locker really. So you've got your three gas point isolator. So if there was any specific appliances that you needed to isolate from the gas, you can do that from there just by turning them 90 degrees. So the top one there is the oven, grill and cooker. The middle one is the fridge, and the bottom one is your combi boiler. So if you wanted to, that's only ever if if there was a problem with any of the appliances, you can isolate them individually, but you shouldn't ever need to turn them off. This unit here is your PSU, so your power supply unit. Again, it's a Sargent system, so it's all correlating to the control panel up there. So again, very simple. If I just pull that out of the way so you can see it better. All you've literally got is the power switch up in the top corner, which isn't a power switch for this whole system. All it is an isolator basically for the electric charger. So when you've got the mains cable plugged in, the battery charger is inside this unit here, and that will basically start charging up the leisure battery. So if you leave that one switched on, the battery charger will come on as soon as you hook up. So that's what most people do, just leave it on. You've then got on the right your 240 volt trip switches, and on the left your 12 volt fuses. For each fuse and trip switch there is a little diagram telling you exactly which one does which and what size it should be. So if you get any specific problems, if you had problems with the rear lights, you might look at number 6 there, check that it's 10 amp, which it is, take it out and see if it's okay. So it's really simple. If you get yourself in a spot of bother and you can't get it to someone to look at, like us or another dealer, for example, you can just have a quick look in there and just sort of diagnose it yourself. If you like, if you can do that, then it might make you, get you out of trouble. So then got above the cooker, you've got your lights and extractor. The microwave up there, which as I said outside is a 240 volt appliance, so this will only work when the electric hookup's plugged in. Then got this small skylight as soon as you walk in, which basically just lifts up like this, and then when you bring it down, twist it around like that to lock it. A light above your head as soon as you walk in as well. In this over the top locker, in this upper locker, you've got a couple of things in here which you might not know about. So these are both to do with your solar. So essentially the one on the right there is your actual regulator. So this essentially takes the solar power in through these 2 black wires here and converts the power down to the correct power to go down to a leisure battery. And the reason you need that is because if you would get normally about sort of 22-23 volts coming from a solar panel at any one time. So that's far too much for a leisure battery, so you have to have a regulator to regulate it before it goes down to it. It is, I will point out, wired up to both batteries. Okay, so whether that's engine and leisure, I'm not sure. I would imagine that it is, but I also not 100%, because you have got twin leisure batteries. So I will have a look under the floor in the cab after the video and just see if there's a set of solar wires going to it, just because that's probably something you'd like to know. Yeah, and this one here is just a meter, just a solar meter, basically telling you what's going on. So it's all solar related, really nicely fitted. I wouldn't be surprised if this was fitted from new, to be honest, because these little glands here aren't something that you would fit. If we were fitting this aftermarket, for example, you wouldn't fit one of these glands generally. So really nicely fitted there. So the fridge is sometimes the bit that people struggle the most with to sort of understand. This particular style of fridge is very simple, but like I say, it just can take a little minute to sort of understand it fully. So it's a three-way fridge, and it's a Thetford fridge there, as you can see. It's a three-way fridge because it works on gas, mains electric, and 12 volt when your engine's running. So the way that you actually have to use these fridges, if I just quickly explain it, is you either have to get the fridge cold on gas or electric, and then start the engine up and start driving. All right, so it's really important that you pre-cool these fridges before you start driving, because otherwise this fridge will not be cold when you get to where you go. So essentially what I mean by that is, if you were going to go on holiday tomorrow morning, for example, you might, I'll just turn this fridge off for a sec. If you were going away tomorrow morning, you might come out to the van, come to the fridge, turn it on, wait for all these lights to come on and go off again. You would then either leave it here on the gas. If I just come back up, I'm pressing this button just here. Leave it on the gas and leave it overnight, and then the fridge will be cold by the morning. Or if I press and hold on this button here, the gas symbol starts flashing, and you can select either one of the two other functions. So either the mains electric, which is this one here, or the gas, are the only two ways that this fridge will get cold by itself. Okay, so as long as the hookup's plugged in, that won't be flashing and it will work. But for the moment, because I've only got the gas, I can only use gas. Okay, so that's how you use it on the gas. That'll light up. If you had the hookup plugged in, you could have chosen the electric hookup. And as I said, if you've already pre-cooled the fridge, before you start the engine up and drive off, you should select this little one here. And essentially when you start the engine, this will stop flashing and start to keep the fridge cold. The 12 volt one there, like I said, when your engine's running, doesn't get the fridge cold by itself as such. It just kind of holds the temperature that you've already put in it. So it's really important that you pre-cool the fridge before doing that. So that is your Thetford three-way fridge. Next door to that, you've got another locker, which is all just loads of storage. Okay, so you've then got the Truma combi boiler, which, again, to be fair, sometimes can take a little minute to sort of understand if you've not used it before. So it's combi, not in the sense of you get instant hot water like you might at home. So it's combi in the sense that you get heating and hot water from the same system. All right, so you've got on the left hand side a little dial there that says Combi E. Now we're going to forget about that one for the minute. The one on the right is the one that actually controls the boiler and tells it what to do. So essentially what you've got, they're a little bit rubbed out there on the dial, but what you've got is either down 1, which is heating only, down 2, which is heating and hot water. Okay, and back up to the middle, turn the boiler off. If you go up 1, you've got hot water at 40 degrees, or up 2, you've got hot water at 60 degrees. So that is how the boiler actually works and how to sort of tell it what to do. You've then got, on the left hand side, is the Combi E switch, and that is basically telling the boiler what energy to use, whether it be gas or electric. So at the moment, because same as the fridge, I've only got gas at the moment. I don't have the electric hookup plugged in, so I can't use the hookup anyway. So I would have to leave it here in the middle on gas. If I had the electric hookup plugged in, I could go up 1 or 2, which is electric only, or I could also go down 1 or 2, which is electric and gas. So for example, if I had the electric hookup plugged in at the moment, I would have it up here at the top for electric, and then if I wanted hot water only because it's quite warm outside, I would go up to either 40 or 60. Okay, it's giving me a red flashing symbol there because the electric hookup isn't plugged in. Alternatively, if I didn't have the electric plugged in, like I don't at the moment, like I said, I would leave it here in the middle on gas and then choose whatever I wanted on this other side. Alright, so that is how the Combi boiler controls work. Next to those, you have got a couple more switches, and sort of, you know, this is a 12-volt socket, main socket, so that's that. As long as you've got water in the fresh tank, you will also then be able to use the water system. So assuming that you've got water in the tank and your water pump switch is on, you can then come over to the sink here and use the tap. So it's really important that before you start using that boiler, especially if you're going to be using the hot water, it's really important to come over to the tap here and just make sure that you've got pressure on the cold and the hot side. All right, so we've got the cold pressure there, but absolutely fine. Round to the left for the hot. Also, absolutely fine. So if there was air in the system, or if the boiler wasn't full or something like that, you would know about it when you did that, because you wouldn't get any water coming through the tap. Okay, so that's just the only way to make sure that the boiler is definitely full of water, is by doing exactly what I've just done there and proving to yourself that you've got pressure on hot and cold. If you do get any sort of coughing and spluttering and all that sort of stuff when you're doing that, it can be an idea to come into the bathroom and do the same thing with these taps as well, including the shower tap as well. All right, so it basically just means, because the whole system is linked together, same as the toilet actually on this particular one. Actually, no, it's not. No, it's not. I take that back. You've got a separate flush. Forget that about that. So yeah, because the sink here, the sink in the bathroom and the shower are all on the same system, sometimes you can get air in specific little lines and things like that. So it's important just to blow them all out and make sure that they're all running nice and clear. Well, whilst I'm there, I'll just show you how the toilet works. So this is one of the easiest ones to show you. So you've literally got, like I said, you've got the bench seat style toilet here. Push this blue button here to get the flush fluid pumping around. That should be a bit more of a pink colour really, but not a big problem. Open the cassette like that to drain it into the cassette, and then close it back. And that is literally all you have to do. That's how the toilet works. So in this wardrobe here, you have had the Wi-Fi fitted on the roof. So you've got a switch just here for that. So this little black switch here is for the Wi-Fi, all plumbed in just there. Obviously I had to make that hole for that reason, but that is what that is. These bits in here are to do with your, I think there's an aerial on the roof. So you've got a Teleco booster box just there, and what is that there? Yeah, so this is all to do with the aerial up on the top. So you can turn that on there and it will lock on. I'll turn that off for now. All right, so that is those bits in there. I will just take, I probably should have done this before I started the video, but just bear with me a sec. I'm just gonna move this seat cushion so we can have a look under here. Try not to make it messy because it's been cleaned. I'll get told off. Okay. So, one thing that's really important to point out is that you've got this little switch down here. Now, I know that I've mentioned that you've got, you know, obviously you've got the Combi E switch, which is the energy selecting switch there. So if you don't select mains, then it won't use the mains. Saying that, if you do want to use the mains, you do have to make sure this little switch here is switched on, because that's your 240 volt mains water heater isolating switch. All right. So if you want to use the mains up there, basically just make sure that switch is on. And the only other bit I want to show you is, where is it? Just there. Now that might be a little bit, got this little cover here for the boiler. So. Okay, so probably explain it there. This little black box that you can just about see there, is your boiler drain off point. So if you wanted to drain the boiler out of all of its water, essentially what you've got is a little dial on the top of it, a little blue dial. If you want to drain the water out of the boiler, twist the blue dial and it will pop a little blue switch out from the bottom, and then all the water that's inside this boiler will drain onto the ground. All you have to do to close that back off again is turn the dial back to where it is now and push the little blue button back in, and then that's it, your boiler will fill back up. Now that is an automatic dropout valve, so if the temperature gets down to about sort of 3 or 4 degrees and that water inside of it is going to freeze, it will drop the water out of it so that it doesn't do that. So really a very, very clever thing to have, because if you don't do that and the boiler does freeze up, you'll be buying a new boiler, because you know it will be broken afterwards. So having that there is really helpful, but you just need to make sure that you fill it back up again before lighting it back up and all that sort of stuff like I just showed you. So that is that. So I'll just pop this back down again now. Pull this back. Okay, so I'm showing you the boiler, cooker, fridge. What else have we got? Anything else? In all honesty, probably the best place for you to have a TV if you did want to fit a telly. It would be a shame not to, because of that satellite on the roof there. Is going to be this area here, because you've got the satellite aerial sockets just there and the 12 volt point there. In the future, if you did buy a mains powered telly, you would probably have to have a little socket fitted just there underneath that or next to it, which shouldn't be a big problem, because I'm pretty certain there will be mains power in here somewhere. Yeah, so yeah, if in the future, if you do get yourself a mains powered telly, you know, get in touch with us or somebody else, you know, whoever, to fit a socket there for you. Not a problem at all. If not, if you do just get a 12 volt TV, then great, you can just use that one there. Okay, so I think I've pretty much covered everything. If there is anything you think I've missed out or anything you'd like going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon to collect your van. Thanks very much.